Hello, viewers. This is the Mindful Man reading the Eden Plot, Chapter 3. Keep your tongue from evil, chapter heading. While Acton was making his plans to develop Eden Bottom Wood, another plot had been stirring in the cathedral across the way. Roger the verger made his way towards the door on the north side of the cathedral, a large bunch of keys hanging heavily from his belt. Dead leaves blown from the ancient trees lay about in untidy piles, and the early morning air was thin and grey. Once inside and robed in his cassock, he went round unlocking the doors of the huge Gothic building, with its dark chapels and corridors turning on the lights. His first task was to get things ready for the early Eucharist in the Martyrs' Chapel. Glancing at the rota on his daily programme sheet, he saw that it was one of the clergy from the diocesan office that morning. Canons too lazy to get up, he supposed, but there was no one to share this thought with at this early hour, and he was too timid to make such a criticism known to anyone. Ready now, he went to his room and put the kettle on. Only in my 30s, he said to himself with pride, and already Dean's verger here. The cathedral church at St. Edmund had been on this site for centuries, and it dominated the city. Tourists on coach outings called in, and the cathedral shop sold devotional books and cards and a wide range of ecclesiastical trinkets. It was a nice little earner, as a canon treasurer rudely called the trade in visitors, not like St. Paul's or Westminster Abbey, though it did not produce anything like enough to meet their ever-growing needs. Sitting in his room well out of sight, Roger became aware that the service had begun, and he could hear the words echoing faintly round the building. He turned to the page he'd marked in his book, a scurrilous story set in a northern industrial town. He never heard of Peter Rowley, the author, but it certainly kept you turning the pages, and Roger liked it. He had covered it with brown paper and marked a cross on the front with a felt pen, and kept it out of sight when the clergy were around. Stretching the spine, he picked up the thread of the story again. The vicar stood at the altar reading the service. Miss Jones was in the front row in her best flowery print dress. She loved the way he spoke. His voice seemed to her to be full of gravel with a touch of honey and roses. She imagined walking along the banks of a lazy river in the summer, with her arm entwined with his. She looked up into his eyes as he said, "We have sinned against you and against our fellow men. In thought and word and deed, I wish I had. Oh, how I wish I had," she thought. "I could just do with a bit of sinning." Smiling lustfully at the idea, she hid her face in her hands, not daring to make her desire known. The service finally over, she went up to him and said, "Vicar, I wonder if you could help me. I've got such terrible doubts. I just can't see how God can be good, and yet people are so wicked. May I come and see you sometime? It's been worrying me such a lot, and only you can help me, I just know it." "Of course," he replied. "What about Thursday after lunch?" "Oh, yes, any time would do," she replied. "Come at 2:30 then," he said, "and come to the vicarage. My wife will be out, so we won't be interrupted." Miss Jones went on her way in ecstasy. An hour alone with the man of her dreams. He might even touch my arm, she thought in eager anticipation. He might even hold me to give me confidence in all my doubt. Of course, he might even want to pull me to himself and kiss me, she thought. Roger caught his breath abruptly and glanced at the clock. There was a busy programme of events in the cathedral today. At 11 there would be a visit from a parish women's group. Then they would have to arrange the chairs for a lunchtime concert, and later on he'd have to get the others to help set up the stage for the university ceremony the next day. And there were always visitors waiting to be shown around, asking questions about how old the building was and where the bishop sat. By mid-afternoon it was time to get ready for the dean and canons to say evensong, going to each stall in turn. He carefully opened the service books and put a red ribbon in the page for the psalm and leather bookmarks in the pages for the Old and New Testament readings. He wasn't sure why he always did this so religiously. Half the time there was only 1 or 2 members of the chapter there to say this daily office. He felt it was his daily devotion to the Christ in glory who was watching him uncertain from above the church chancel arch. The doom painting filled him with fear, especially that part on the south side with the flames licking hungrily around the mouth of hell. If he should fall foul of the dean and canons, those devils might pitchfork him into their boiling vat one day. One by one the clergy appeared and took their customary seats, shuffling the books unnecessarily on the desk in front of them. For some reason they were all there today. Roger hurried away discreetly to his room and the next chapter of his book. Christopher Kennington sat in his oak canopied stall, eyeing his colleagues warily. He had been appointed to the deanery 15 years earlier after a distinguished ministry in a West London parish. The ability to hold a glass in one hand and to chat with aspiring businessmen and with women of gentle birth but reduced circumstances, and to flirt, just a suspicion of a flirt, with bright young girls living in flats and hunting for husbands on the party circuit, had given him a facility with words and a social ease. Now, however, his energy was fading. The thrill of managing the cathedral enterprise, of being deferred to by the county set, and sparring good-naturedly with the succession of bishops who had come and gone in his time, had begun to wear off. 3 years to go to retirement, he mused, feeling the pull of their thatched cottage in West Dorset, and the canons were still full of aggression, plotting all the time, wanting his seat or some vainly desired preferment in another diocese. The cathedral clock struck the hour distantly, and the precentor knelt down in his stall. "O Lord, open thou our lips," he began. They were still using the old service. "And our mouths shall show forth the praise," came the mumbled reply. The psalm over, the canon in residence and the sub-dean stood up at the same time to read the first lesson. Glowering at each other, they both began. "The first lesson is taken from," and then he stopped. Hope you enjoyed this chapter of this pages of the Eden Plot. Please submit if you liked it. More to come.